You're terminated. Consider this your last day. That's what I read in the email from my boss, Patricia, as I sat alone in my living room, still wearing my black funeral dress. My father's photo was right in front of me on the table. His urn was on the shelf behind me. We had buried him just yesterday. She had approved my leave. She told me in person, "Of course. Take as much time as you need." Her voice even sounded soft that day, like she understood. But now she was firing me. No call. No explanation. Just an email with a subject line, **** termination of employment ****. It didn't make sense. Why would she do that? I stared at the screen, feeling the breath leave my body. My hands were cold. My eyes were dry, too dry from the tears I'd cried all week. But inside me, something started to boil. Grief was one thing. But betrayal like this, it changes you. But before I tell you how I responded, let me take you back to how it all began. My name's Sarah Jensen. I worked as a paralegal for a law firm in Seattle. I'd been there for 6 years, and in that time, I gave everything. I took extra shifts, stayed late, helped new hires without being asked. I even worked once from the hospital waiting room when my dad had surgery. Not because I had to, but because I didn't want to fall behind. I believed in loyalty. I believed that if you gave your best, people would do right by you. Patricia was the managing partner of the firm. She wasn't warm, but I didn't mind. She had high standards, and I respected that. She had given me my first shot right out of college. I looked up to her. I trusted her. But in the past year, my dad's health had started to fail. He was diagnosed with cancer, stage 4. I took care of him during his treatments, made sure he made it to every appointment, even when it meant going to work after spending the night in the ER. I never asked for time off unless I really needed it. I never missed a deadline. Then, one Monday morning, everything changed. My dad passed away in his sleep. I called Patricia immediately. I was shaking when I said, "My dad passed. I need a few days." She paused and then said, "Of course. Family comes first. Take what you need." I asked for 3 days. Just 3. She approved it on the spot. So I thought that was it. I made funeral arrangements. Gave a eulogy I could barely get through. I held my mom's hand the whole time. We cried. We laughed a little. We remembered the kind of man he was. On the 3rd day, I got home from the burial and opened my laptop just to check on work stuff. Maybe there'd be a message from someone offering condolences. Maybe even from Patricia. Instead, there was that email. Due to failure to report to duty following unapproved leave, your employment is hereby terminated. What? Unapproved leave. But she approved it. She even said to take what I needed. I immediately called her office. No answer. I left a voicemail. I texted. Nothing. I messaged Denise, my coworker and friend. Her reply came back fast. "Wait, what? You're fired. That can't be right. You told her, right?" I told her everything. And then Denise called me. She sounded shaken. "Sarah, I don't know what's going on, but people around here are acting weird. Patricia has been in secret meetings all week. I overheard her saying she was going to shake things up around here. And your name came up." "What do you mean?" "She's trying to make it look like you just walked off the job. Like you never got permission. Like you abandoned your post." My stomach dropped. This couldn't be real. "She's replacing you, Sarah," Denise whispered. "There's this new girl, fresh out of college. She starts Monday." And Patricia said something about needing someone without distractions. That was it. She didn't care that I lost my dad. She didn't care that I was grieving. To her, I was just in the way. That's when something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to just walk away quietly. That night, I pulled out my dad's old notebook. It was leather-bound, full of scribbles, quotes, life lessons. On the inside cover, he'd written, "When people treat you unfairly, You don't have to destroy them. Just show the world the truth. And I knew. That's exactly what I was going to do. I opened a folder on my computer. Named it The Truth. I began saving everything, every email between me and Patricia. The calendar invite showing she approved my time off. Even the voicemail where I told her about my dad and she said she understood. I was building a case. Not just for revenge, but for justice. But then, something happened the next morning that would change the course of everything. And this time, it wasn't an email. It was a knock on my door. The knock on my door echoed through the quiet apartment like a gunshot. I wasn't expecting anyone. I stood still for a second, heart thumping. Who could it be? When I opened the door, I froze. It was Patricia. She stood there in a long beige coat, perfectly ironed slacks, her signature red lipstick untouched, as if she hadn't just fired someone grieving their father. Her eyes scanned me up and down, probably noticing my puffy face and the tired bags under my eyes. "Sarah," she said calmly, "may I come in?" I didn't answer. I just stared. "Please," she added, softer this time. "This won't take long." I stepped aside slowly, still in disbelief, and let her in. She walked in like she owned the place, as if she hadn't just shattered my world the day before. She sat on the couch without asking. I stayed standing. She took a deep breath. "I know this must seem like a shock," she began, "but decisions at the firm aren't always personal." I raised an eyebrow. "You fired me by email, after I told you my dad died." She nodded slowly. "And I want you to know it wasn't easy. I had to consider what was best for the team." I didn't believe a word of it. "You told me to take the days I needed," I said. "You approved it." Patricia looked down at her hands, then back at me. "I did say that, yes. But it wasn't documented. You didn't send an official leave request through HR. So, technically. I cut her off. "You're saying this is my fault?" She folded her hands, her tone turning firm. "I'm saying I have to follow procedure. You've been distracted lately, and the firm needs people who are focused." That word hit me like a slap. Focused. I had lost my father. The man who raised me. The man who taught me everything. And this woman, this stone-hearted boss, thought my grief made me unfocused? "I gave 6 years to your firm," I said. 6 loyal, overworked years. She stood up. "I'm sorry, Sarah. Truly. But my decision is final." I followed her to the door, gripping the edge of it with both hands to stop them from shaking. Before leaving, she turned back with that perfect fake smile. "Life moves on. I hope you find peace." Then she was gone. The door clicked shut behind her, and I stood there for a long time. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I planned. She said there was no documentation. I had everything saved. Emails. Voicemails. Text messages. Calendar invites. I even had screenshots of the internal scheduling system showing my approved days off. Patricia could try to lie all she wanted, but I had proof. Still, I knew I had to move carefully. Going public too soon could ruin my chances. And I didn't want a messy internet war. I wanted something real. Something permanent. The next morning, I called an old friend, Jamie, a lawyer I knew from college. We hadn't spoken in years, but I knew she worked in labor law now. When I told her everything, she was quiet for a while. Finally, she said, "Sarah, this is serious. What Patricia did might be illegal. Especially if you have records." "I do," I replied. "Good. Then don't go public yet. Don't post anything online. Let me handle this." For the next week, Jamie and I built our case quietly. Meanwhile, I found out Patricia had already filled my position. With the same new girl Denise told me about. Fresh-faced. Smiling. Completely unaware of what Patricia had done to clear the way for her. I didn't blame her. She didn't know. But Patricia. Oh, she knew exactly what she was doing. One afternoon, Denise called again. "Sarah, I think you should see this. She sent me a picture. A copy of the internal team newsletter. Right at the top was a message from Patricia. It read, "We are sad to announce that Sarah Jensen has left the firm to pursue personal growth opportunities. We wish her well." My stomach twisted. She didn't just fire me. She was erasing me, making it look like I walked away, like I abandoned the firm for personal growth. That's when I realized she was trying to destroy my reputation. This wasn't just about losing a job anymore. This was war. But just as I was preparing to go fully legal and expose everything, something unexpected happened. Jamie called, her voice tense. "Sarah, something's wrong. I just got a letter from the firm's lawyers. They're accusing you of misconduct." "What?" I nearly dropped the phone. "They're saying you failed to meet deadlines, ignored protocol, and left the firm during a crucial case." "But none of that is true," I shouted. "That's all fabricated." "I know," she said, "but it means they're scared. They're trying to flip the narrative before we can." I sat in silence, my mind spinning. Patricia wasn't just trying to get rid of me. She was trying to ruin me. And then I realized. She didn't know I had a secret weapon. Something she thought was deleted. Something that could burn everything down. I pulled the old USB drive from the back of my drawer, the one I hadn't touched in over a year. It was dusty and beat up, but I had always used it to back up important files when I didn't trust cloud storage. Call it paranoia, or just years of dealing with unpredictable bosses like Patricia. I plugged it into my laptop and began digging. And there it was, buried in a folder called Personal Docs that I had completely forgotten about. A full-screen recording from 3 months ago. It was the weekly Zoom team meeting. Patricia, on camera, looking as pristine as always. But there, in crystal-clear audio, was her exact voice saying, "If anyone ever needs to take personal time for family matters, don't stress the paperwork. Just shoot me a message. I'll approve it on the spot." That wasn't all. In the same meeting, she looked directly into the camera and smiled. "And Sarah, I know your dad's health has been shaky. If you ever need to go, don't worry about office protocols. Family comes first." My jaw clenched as I replayed it. She didn't just approve my time off. She encouraged it. And now she was trying to twist the story like I had abandoned my post. I forwarded the clip to Jamie immediately. Within 5 minutes, she called me. "Sarah," she said breathlessly, "this changes everything. This is gold. This proves she approved the leave, and it shows she knew your situation. She's toast." But I still wasn't ready to go full nuclear. Not yet. Because I had an idea. A way to turn the tables that would not only clear my name, but humiliate Patricia in front of the very people she tried to deceive. That afternoon, I called Denise. "Do you still have access to the company newsletter system?" I asked. She paused. "Technically, yes. I help format and schedule the emails, but Patricia reviews everything before it goes out." I explained my plan. At first, Denise hesitated. "Sarah, if this goes wrong, I could get fired." I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, "You saw what she did to me. You think she wouldn't do the same to you?" That hit home. She agreed. Over the next few days, Jamie finalized the legal complaint while I worked with Denise to prepare a special edition of the company newsletter. The idea was simple: expose Patricia's lies using her own words. We embedded a link to the Zoom recording in the middle of the newsletter, disguised behind a friendly-looking message from management video link. We also included a screenshot of the HR calendar showing my leave was marked approved with Patricia's initials next to it. The newsletter was scheduled to go out Friday morning at 9 a.m., just before the firm's weekly staff meeting. The night before, I barely slept. I paced around my apartment, checking the time every hour. I kept thinking, what if Denise backs out? What if Patricia finds out early? What if they twist this again? At 8:55 a.m., I opened my laptop. By 9:10, my phone buzzed. It was Denise. "People are losing it," she whispered. "They're watching the clip in the conference room. Patricia hasn't come out of her office yet." 2 minutes later, Jamie called. Sarah, you might want to sit down. My heart raced. What? What happened? The firm's PR team just reached out. They want a quiet resolution. Patricia's under internal investigation. They've asked if you'd be open to a settlement. I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Power. But just as I was about to reply, something happened that I hadn't prepared for. My phone buzzed again. Blocked number. Against my better judgment, I answered. A deep male voice came through. Sarah Jensen, the voice asked. Yes. This is Detective Ross. I'm calling regarding a formal complaint filed against you. I need to ask you a few questions about corporate sabotage and digital tampering. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? I stammered. The detective's tone was firm. There's an allegation that you illegally accessed company systems after your termination, and that you coordinated with a current employee to release confidential materials. We'll need you to come in for questioning. My mouth went dry. They weren't just trying to silence me. They were trying to criminalize me. Who filed the complaint? I asked, though I already knew. I'm not at liberty to say, but I suggest you come in sooner rather than later. As the call ended, I stood frozen in my kitchen. Patricia had just played her most dangerous card yet, but I still had one final ace up my sleeve. I sat on the cold plastic chair in the precinct lobby, twisting my fingers nervously. The fluorescent lights buzzed above me. I could hear the faint chatter of officers, the ringing of phones, and the heavy thud of boots walking past. It felt unreal. Just 10 days ago I was managing projects and leading meetings. Now I was being investigated like some kind of criminal. Detective Ross stepped out from behind a glass door and motioned for me. Let's talk. He wasn't rude, but his face was unreadable. Calm. Serious. Like someone who's heard 1,000 lies and expects to hear another one. We entered a small grey room with a table, 2 chairs, and a camera in the top corner. As soon as the door shut, a chill ran down my spine. I just want to be clear, I said, my voice shaking. This is all a setup. I didn't hack anything. Denise had access. She scheduled it. I just shared evidence of what Patricia did to me. He didn't interrupt. Just nodded, taking notes. Then he said, we're not charging you with anything. Yet. Yet. I repeated, stunned. He leaned forward. Look, Sarah, I've seen this before. Power plays in corporate offices, backstabbing, sudden firings. But the company's claiming that after being terminated, you accessed proprietary software, collaborated with an internal employee, and distributed materials that weren't cleared by leadership. That's a breach of contract. Possibly worse. I stared at him, stunned. They're trying to bury me, I whispered. He didn't deny it. What I need from you, he said slowly, is proof that Patricia approved your leave. That your termination was personal. That this wasn't you retaliating, but defending your reputation. I handed over the USB drive. It had the Zoom clip, the HR calendar screenshots, and every message I had sent Patricia, both emails and Slack DMs. Everything was polite, clear, timely. She had read the messages, responded to some, ignored others. But the evidence was overwhelming. She had known about my father's condition. She had approved my leave. He took it. All right, he said. Give me a day or two. Don't talk to anyone from the company. Don't post about this. If they contact you again, you let me know immediately. As I walked out of the station, the weight on my chest felt slightly lighter, but only slightly. The storm was still raging. I just didn't know which direction it would strike next. Back home, I called Jamie. You're not out of the woods, she said bluntly. But this detective might actually help. Especially if he's not in Patricia's pocket. Can I sue her for this? I asked. False charges. Emotional distress. We'll get there, she said. But for now, keep everything documented. And don't let your emotions make the next move. I nodded, even though I wanted nothing more than to scream. Over the next few days, everything felt eerily quiet. No calls. No emails. Not even from Denise. Until Friday. That's when the Real explosion happened. I was sipping coffee, trying to calm my nerves when I got a message from another ex-employee of the company. Her name was Ashley. She had worked in HR before suddenly resigning 6 months ago. We had only spoken in passing, but she had always been kind. Her message read, "Hey Sarah. I just heard what's happening. I have something you need to see. I should have come forward sooner." My hands trembled as I typed back. "What is it?" 10 minutes later, I was staring at an email forwarded from Ashley's personal account. It was a confidential HR report. One Patricia had forced her to bury. Inside it were complaints, multiple asterisk, filed by other employees against Patricia. Everything from racism to manipulation to sudden terminations after medical leaves. One line stood out. Employee's father passed away unexpectedly. Requested 3 days off. Patricia approved verbally, then fired her the day she returned, citing abandonment of duty. HR suggested documentation. Patricia denied request. It was my case. But the date. It wasn't mine. It was someone else's. A woman named Kelly who worked in accounting 3 years ago. I stared in disbelief. Patricia had done this before. This was a pattern. And suddenly, I wasn't just a disgruntled employee fighting for justice. I was a witness in something bigger. Ashley agreed to talk to the detective. I passed everything to Jamie. And by that afternoon, Jamie had scheduled a meeting, with a asterisk reporter star. "Wait, what?" I asked, shocked. "This isn't just a case anymore," she said. "This is a story. And people deserve to know who Patricia really is." I hesitated. "But won't going public make things worse?" Jamie paused. "Or it'll bring others out. People who've been silent too long." The next morning, I met the reporter in a downtown cafe. I wore a hoodie and sunglasses, nervous someone from the firm might see me. Her name was Monica. Sharp, experienced, and careful with her questions. She wasn't just looking for scandal. She was looking for asterisk truth star. And then, just as we were wrapping up, my phone buzzed. It was an anonymous number. I almost didn't answer. But I did. And what I heard next made my heart stop. It was a male voice. "Sarah Jensen," he said. "I don't know if you remember me. My name is Malcolm. I used to work security at your old company. Patricia had me do something 3 years ago that's haunted me ever since." I sat frozen. He continued, "If you're ready to bring her down, I think I can help." I stared at the courtroom doors, heart racing. It had all come down to this moment. The weeks of gathering documents, the testimonies from co-workers, the sleepless nights rehearsing every detail of my story, everything would be decided today. The courtroom was packed. I didn't expect that. A few co-workers who still supported me sat quietly in the back. Even 2 HR staff were present. But I barely noticed any of them. All I could hear was my own heartbeat. And then, the judge entered. The proceedings began with my attorney presenting the core of the case. My boss had approved my leave, I had attended my father's funeral, and upon returning, I was fired for being absent without notice. Emails, timestamps, even text messages were presented. My boss had no clue I'd saved all of it. Then came her turn to speak. She took the stand and, with fake tears, claimed I had simply vanished. That she never approved the leave. That she was forced to terminate me for abandonment. That's when my attorney brought out the printed screenshots, emails from her confirming my leave. One with her own digital signature. Her face turned pale. Then, a bombshell. A member of HR stepped forward, unexpectedly called by our side. She had nothing to gain. She wasn't even listed as a formal witness. But she stood there bravely and said, "Yes, I saw the approval. She's lying." The room gasped. My boss's lawyer tried to object, but it was too late. The judge banged the gavel and said he'd seen enough. "We rule in favor of the plaintiff," the judge declared. "Full reinstatement if she wishes." Damages in the amount of $120,000 for wrongful termination, emotional distress, and legal fees. I couldn't believe it. My hands trembled. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Outside the courtroom, the HR lady came up to me and hugged me. "You deserved justice," she said softly. "Not everyone has the courage to fight." I never went back to that job. I took the settlement and started something new, something mine. A small consulting business helping people fight workplace injustice. It wasn't easy, but it felt right. And as for my ex-boss, she was fired by the board after the ruling and blacklisted from her industry. I later heard she tried to sue the company for not defending her. She lost. Looking back, I still miss my dad every day. He used to say, "Stand up when you're knocked down, even if your legs shake." I stood up. And I stayed standing. Justice. Strength. Peace. Subscribe to not miss amazing revenge stories.